have your Bibles today, turn with us to the front of a book, Genesis chapter 8. We'll begin reading at verse 6 and read through verse 11. Genesis chapter 8, beginning with verse 6. So it came to pass at the end of 40 days that Noah opened the window of the ark which he had made. Then he sent out a raven, which kept going to and fro until the waters had dried up from the earth. He also sent out from himself a dove, to see if the waters had receded from the face of the ground. But the dove found no resting place for the sole of her foot, and she returned into the ark to him, for the waters were on the face of the whole earth. So he put out his hand and took her, and drew her into the ark to himself. And he waited yet another 7 days, and again he sent the dove out from the ark. Then the dove came to him in the evening, and behold, a freshly plucked olive leaf was in her mouth. And Noah knew that the waters had receded from the earth. And may God add his blessing to the reading of his word today. The headline in the Sydney, Australia newspaper read, "Olive leaf offers hope." According to a group of scientists at an Australian university, adding olive leaf extract to your cup of coffee offers great hope in the battle of the bulge, in the war on weight. And on what did they base their opinion? What else? Rats, of course. Here's what they did. For 8 weeks, they gave one group of rats regular coffee to drink. And for those 8 weeks, they gave a different group of rats coffee with olive leaf extract in it. Now, I didn't know rats like coffee, but evidently they do. And the result was the Folgers and Maxwell House rats all gained weight, while the olive leaf rats all lost weight. The study went on to say that the olive leaf exceeded their expectations, and that their next study would involve 2-legged rats instead of 4-legged rats. Now, with that lovely thought of rats drinking coffee etched in our minds, let's now turn our attention to the real olive leaf that offers us real hope. In our text, after it finally stopped raining, Noah and his family are still stuck on that ark, still surrounded by water. But in verse 11, when that dove returned with an olive leaf in her mouth, Noah knew that the waters had receded, and he had made it through his flood. You see, it was that olive leaf that gave Noah the hope he very much needed. And as we go through the floods of life, and we all do, we too need an olive leaf of hope to keep us going and to get us through. And friends, we have our olive leaf of hope, not in the mouth of a dove, but in the person of Jesus Christ. Let me give you some wonderful examples of this truth today. First, we look at the flood of desertion. We find this flood in John chapter 4, in the life of the woman at the well. She had been deserted by 5 different husbands, and the dude she was currently living with had his bags packed. But in her flood of desertion, her olive leaf of hope showed up in the man named Jesus Christ. For Jesus gave her hope by giving her himself, him who never has and who never will desert anyone, including the woman at the well. And then we note the flood of disease. In John chapter 5, we meet a man who had a disease for 38 years. He goes to the pool of Bethesda looking for a magical cure. But in his flood of disease, his olive leaf showed up. And when his olive leaf named Jesus showed up, that man stood up, all healed up, with a brand new life to live. And then we note the flood of demons. In Mark chapter 5, we meet a man who was possessed by many demons, living among tombs, uncontrollable, untamable, a terror and a threat to all. But his olive leaf showed up in his flood of demons. And when his olive leaf named Jesus showed up, those demons took a bath and died, and that man took a bath and began a brand new life. And then we note the flood of deficit. In John chapter 6, you had thousands of hungry people with growling and empty stomachs. The only food they had was a small sack lunch from Long John Silver. But in the deficit of their lack, the olive leaf named Jesus showed up, took charge, took control, and when he did, their stomachs were filled and their growling was finished. And then we note the flood of danger. Also in John 6, the disciples got caught up in a terrible storm at sea. Their boat was filling with water and their souls were sinking with fear. But their olive leaf of hope showed up, walking on the water. And when he did, the storm stopped. The disciples went ashore, cleaned the sand out of their clothes, and went on with living a brand new life. And then we have the flood of disgrace. In John chapter 8, a woman caught in the act of adultery is hauled into the temple. The penalty for her act was death. Her judge and jury have their stones all ready to throw at her, to do her in, to take her out. But her olive leaf named Jesus showed up with his hope. And when he did, the accusers were gone, no stone was thrown, and that woman had another chance at living life. And then we note the flood of death. In John chapter 11, we find Lazarus in the grave and his sisters in grief. But their olive leaf showed up. And when he did, Lazarus left the grave and the sisters left their grief. Lazarus was alive and well, and those sisters were singing and shouting. Now there are many, many other examples of this in the Bible. For you see, folks, this book is a basket of olive leaves. This book is an encyclopedia of hope. And my point is simply this: no matter the kind of flood that hits us, there is an olive leaf for it. There is hope for it. And his name is Jesus Christ. And again, no matter how high your flood may be, no matter how low your boat may be riding, and no matter how long it's been raining on you, your olive leaf has come to you. Because you see, there is no storm or flood that can keep Jesus Christ from coming to you. He is your source of hope when seemingly there is no hope. When Noah saw that dove flying toward him with that olive leaf in her mouth, do you think Noah thought about trying to shoo that dove away? Holler at it, throw something at it, pull out his shotgun and shoot it? I mean, it was dove season, right? Dove season is underway. You think Noah ever thought of that? No. When Noah saw that dove with that olive leaf in her mouth, he was the happiest man in the world. For he knew what that olive leaf was. It was his hope. And so he invited that dove with that olive leaf onto the ark. And my friend, if you never have, that's what you need to do. You need to let your olive leaf of hope, Jesus Christ, onto your ark and into your life. Do what Noah did. Accept him, receive him, believe in him, and trust in him. take your olive leaf, my friend, because that is the only hope you have. Jesus Christ.